we want to look at the conversation about leadership in Ghana, and one of the challenges with leadership, the issue of dependence on external aid. Now, there's a story on citynewsroom.com. Ghana must break its dependence on external aid. Paul Boateng is speaking, and we want to look at this. The Right Honorable Paul Boateng, a member of the House of Lords, United Kingdom, has admonished Ghana's political leadership to make conscious efforts towards breaking the current cycle of dependence on external aid to propel development. Now, addressing participants at the 2024 Annual Leadership Lecture at the Kofi Ohene-Konadu Auditorium at the University of Professional Studies in Accra, that's the UPSA, on Tuesday, 18th of June, Lord Boateng referenced President Akufo-Addo's 2018 bold statement with French President Emmanuel Macron, where he underscored the need for Africa to wean itself off external aid. Now, break the vicious cycle of dependence on external aid. Who here does not remember the moment His Excellency, the President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, stood next to the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, and went viral and made the point about the need for us to cease to have to rely on external aid if we are to break the vicious cycle of dependence on external aid, and those great powers who have fed and continue to feed on Africa's resources and whose activities with their willing collaborators hold Africa down in an impoverished and conflicted posture. It's the question he's asking. And speaking on the theme, fulfilling the promise, the challenge of leadership, moving from rhetoric to delivery. Lord Boateng said Ghana has been impoverished for years due to its dependence on external aid. He also expressed disappointment in the recent comparison of a Dutch passport being worth more than a Ghanaian PhD by a social media user. And this, I'm sure everybody's seen this. But let me come to you, Ellen, your first bite at this one. First of all, I should say that I wholeheartedly agree with him about the need to shift, right? I was very excited in 2018 when President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo said that, that we need to move away. And then he had also said earlier that we're going to move from taxation to production, which of course is for me is the first step actually, if we're going to break the dependency on external aid. Commentary on that and where we find ourselves today, where somebody is very happy to brag that his Dutch passport is worth more than a Ghanaian PhD.
Well, that's the person's problem, obviously. We all know that is not the case. But who is speaking?
Lord Paul Boateng.
He is British of Ghanaian descent.
Of Ghanaian descent.
He's in the
British House of Lords. Yes.
Okay. I hope Lord Boateng also would go back into history and understand why we are in a situation where we are, where it has become very difficult to break away.
Why is it difficult to break away?
I believe that we are dealing with consequences of a lot of biases and things going against us, not just Ghana, as Africa. Where he's coming from, and they built their economy, and their whole, the whole royal family, everything was built on the hard labor and sweat of slaves, Africa included, Indian slaves, the whole African continent. The British pound is backed by gold. Gold gotten out of Africa. I can say that maybe 40% from Ghana. Not now, but every generation and its economic, matrices. So in those years, they came down here, they came to loot us, and we cannot blame them alone. We have to blame our forefathers too, because they also gave them the opportunity. The slaves were sold to them by the same Ghanaians who went to catch their brothers and sisters and sold it to them. So it's a whole economic matter. Coming all the way down and asking that we move away. It's a gradual process. So you start. One government comes. We've been to the IMF. The latest one is our 18th time.
Yeah. And
now no means words. If we don't take care, in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, 10 years, we'll go for the 19th and 20th time. Why? Because it's a vicious cycle. His Excellency
Does it
Nana
have to be, though?
It's unfortunately the systems that we run in the whole world, the world economic system, that we are all part of. That is how it runs. You can only break away if you decide that you're going to use a lot more of things from your own country.
Yes.
We have an import-driven economy.
Yes.
I won't use other people as examples. I'll use myself an example. I produce fruit juice. I've been producing it for more than 17 years. My fruit juice cost a bottle, 300 ml. You see it on the market. It will cost about 20 cedis, depending. Between 20 cedis, depending on the shop and the situation, to 25 cedis.
500 ml or 300
300 ml. This is pure pineapple juice, no additives, nothing.
Okay.
My juice is on the shelf with the juice coming from South Africa, from Brazil. The same thing. That is laden with additives, preservatives, and that is going for 10 cedis. The Ghanaian, or 10, 15 cedis. The Ghanaian would enter the shop and would
go for the cheaper
one. And sometimes not even just the price, because you go to upscale restaurants, upscale shops that the price is not the matter. It's just the taste for it. So over the years, we have all ingrained ourselves with a taste for foreign goods. We are not interested in the Ghanaian goods. That is the taste matter. Then you come to the whole taxation matter. How we tax our local factories and our local producers. Somebody is bringing in, he goes to the, the free zones. He has the opportunities for being tax-free for 5-6 years. And you know what some of the companies do? When their time is coming, then they go and change the names of the company, and change the ownership, that's something they've been doing. And then they go for another 10 years. Yeah. Every single month, GRA is in my factory, they are in my retail shop, they are taking their taxes. I don't get any tax break, but I'm Ghanaian. So all these things combined, how are we going to produce here in Ghana? His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo coming in, looked at all these matters and said, look, we need to move away from this. Unfortunately for him and unfortunately for all of us, we had to go through what we had to go through in 2019, 2020 with the COVID matter. And therefore our economy went down and we had to go back again. Moving away post-COVID, that is why we should be looking at the manifestos, which I suppose by the end of this month, each of the political parties should bring it out, of these political parties, and ask questions. Because as at the end of this year, by December, NPP would have been in power doing this democratic dispensation for 16 years. NDC did their 16 years in 2016. So these are two political parties that for 30 years or more have run this economy. What is your manifesto? What are your plans going forward? These are the questions we should be asking our politicians. We can lament about the past. It is in the past. Going forward, NPP, what are you going to do to make sure that we move away from this situation that Lord Boateng is talking about? Yeah. What are you going to do, NDC? What are you going to do to make sure that we move away? These are the questions I believe Ghanaians should be asking us. And not be chasing us over Smith properties that people are bidding for. What are we going to do?
Okay. Louisa, I need to ask you this question. So, with all that Paul Boateng is saying, and then juxtapose it with what Helen's comments have been, in 2016, and you know, it's something that for us here at ChannelOne TV and 97.3 City FM, we've championed the cause of made in Ghana products, okay? And there was a full-on rice campaign that we did, all right? Major rice campaign that we did. And it got to a point, there were, I can remember, at least about 7 different Ghana rice brands that were in shops. Every day you go to Malcolm, shelves were full, Ghana rice brands, and people were shopping, and there was like excitement about buying local rice. And people were commenting. One of the comments I heard was that we didn't know Ghana rice tastes this good because people were used to the old way of very little processing. There were stones in the rice and all of that. You didn't know that technology had far moved. So now you could get rice that was clean without stones and all of those things, and that was available. Fast forward, there were people that moved against the campaign because it was destroying their capacity to import rice. Because now people were buying the local rice. How do we get out of this mess? If we are beholden to people who are major importers, we allow them to have their way. And then they have to, the poor local rice farmers and the rest of the Ghanaians who would like to eat the local rice, have to compete with, hawks like this.
Before I delve into the aid issue,
We don't have time, by the way.
Okay.
We are running up to time.
I would
so.
want to re-quote Ellen. She made a statement when she was ending her submission. She said, whatever is in the past is in the past. Moving forward, what do we have to do? So whatever claim she's making that Snate hotels were sold to NDC members, moving forward, the demonstration
You want to harp
sought-
on this matter?
Hold on, to rubbish is actually saying that the solution moving forward is to assent to a bill that will refrain every political entity from purchasing a national asset.
Fair enough. Let's move on.
So the aid, and then Ghana being free from aid, Ghana beyond aid and all that. There is this major issue that is associated with every country that has depended so much on aid. That is dumping. So for instance, in Ghana, we talk about rice that you were alluding the Ghanaian rice economy to, and then the importers. Where are we importing the rice from? Are we indebted to those countries? We talk about certain goods. Now you find an iron, a blender, and some of the quality is not anything you can write home about. You buy it today, in the next 2 weeks or 3 days, it is off. Where are we importing these items from? And what is our indebtedness to such states? So for instance, we talk about China. People are importing from China. How much do we owe China as a country?
But people have been importing from China long before we started owing them.
That's one of the problems of depending so much on aid.
Yeah.
Is the kind of conditionalities these countries give you when you want to break out of that system. So for instance, as it stands now, Ghana had a debt stock of 102 billion, and then within the space of 7 years, we have risen to 620 billion. Out of that 620 billion, as part of the aid, you've taken loans from states. You've taken grants from states. Some states have given you humanitarian aid. So you wake up one day and you say that I am beyond aid. And let's all be cautious with these things. When we are talking about foreign policy, diplomacy, and its related issues, no state, I repeat, no state is a Father Christmas. They give for their national interest.
Oh, yeah, of
So
course.
for instance, if a state is giving Ghana a
Even
loan-
if it appears to be a gift,
exactly,
there's a plan.
So they are giving Ghana a loan of about 600 million, and then they realize that in your country there is a market for something they are producing. So Ellen uses South Africa juice as an example, and they realize that in Ghana you have taste for their pineapple juice, and there is a market. Why then don't they give you aid? And as part of the aid, add the conditionality that
You
see,
should
give
buy
us
their-
this
buy their
waiver,
produce.
import this amount of things, and then whatever agreement we have, because you need the money. So the problem has always been with us that before we announce any states beyond aid, we should put in place some pragmatic solutions.
such as
So before I come to that, one of the negativities of relying so much on aid is that there is corruption and mismanagement. Stemming out of the fact that they are not monies we acquire through our sweat, our strategies, and whatever inputs we are making in the country. So when these monies come in, we spend it anyhow without any accountability, because after all, we are not going to pay today. Generations after us
Which
would have
feeds
to now
into the procurement economy.
Exactly. So, for instance, during the COVID era, we announced the Ghana Beyond Aid in 2018. In 2019, COVID-19 hit us. In 2020, we received a lot of aid. That was even far above the expenditure we made for all the COVID issues that came about. What did we do with that excess money? There was a tape recording that says that the MPP actually distributed the amount to their constituencies to be used.
Tape recording from who by who?
To be used. I'll get to that soon.
No, we don't have time,
To be
please.
used for their election. And then we also noticed that before announcing any state beyond aid, we should make sure we achieve economic stability. Economic stability in that we should produce more of the things we consume rather than importing. So you keep importing, you are taking whatever, mind you, whatever aid they are giving us, which is the money, we are attaching those aids back to their countries because we are importing more than we are producing.
Louisa, I'm asking that, how do we break this cycle? That's what I'm interested in. Because we know what we are rehashing what the challenges are. How do we break
That is what I said, achieve economic stability. And as one of the ways to achieve economic stability, you realize that as a country, we don't have enough funds to pre-finance whatever projects we undergo. Because per fact and figures, we are actually using our revenues to pay for salaries.
Okay, salaries.
So we pay salaries and every other expenditure, we cannot afford it. So what then do we do?
Please wrap it up.
We would have to now go for aid. So as part of the NDC's manifesto plan, we are saying that instead of going for aid, we are introducing build, operate, and transfer. So private entities should partner government. They are going to build without us going for aid to now come and invest in any infrastructure projects or building of any industry.
All right.
Private entities will help us build. They will operate it under a certain conditionality, at the same time creating employment. And when that duration is due, transfer it to the country. It becomes a permanent asset, giving revenue to the state.
All right, fantastic.